It's 4:30 and this is WKYT This Morning. A farmhand in Bourbon County found an unpleasant surprise when checking on horses. More on the human skull that was found ahead on WKYT This Morning. Also, police say a man killed his wife and hid her body in a well because she said that she was going to leave. Also this morning, he was peeping through windows in his neighborhood, according to police, and he's now back in jail. Hear from neighbors of an accused sex offender. Coming up on WKYT.
This is WKYT This Morning.
Good morning to you, and it's good to have you with us. Michelle Chamberlain will join us a little later. I'm Bill Bryant, and we're glad you're with us this morning. We have a lot of news to get to you, but first, this is the day we'll see a transition into a more rainy pattern for a few days, and meteorologist Micah Harris is on duty. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, the next few days we are looking at thunderstorms in the forecast. Some of these could be strong. We'll have to watch those very closely, especially late in the day today and then into tomorrow. Live sky camera. It's a good shot this morning. Look, this morning feels fantastic. We're at 64 degrees in Richmond, 62 now in Lexington. That goes for Boyle County, right there in the lower 60s. 80 degrees today. There is a small chance during the afternoon, but really it's during the evening and night. You start to see these thunderstorms move on in. What's the severity of them, and also what's the timing on that? I'll have the hour-by-hour forecast coming up.
Okay, we'll see you then. Thank you. Investigators still do not yet know whose human skull was found on a Bourbon County farm on Sunday. The coroner says a farmhand saw the skull when checking on some horses. The skull was in a creek near Thrieve Farm in Paris. Cadaver dogs were brought in to look for more human remains, but they didn't find anything. Our Monique Blair asked the coroner what she knows about the skull.
After a farmhand found a partial skull in a creek near Thrieve Farm, Bourbon County Coroner D.G. Rowe, along with cadaver dogs and other officials, searched for more clues that could help determine the identity of the person.
And we searched for probably 6 hours up and down all the creek banks that surrounded this horse farm, and we did not have any luck to find any more remains.
Some speculation has surrounded the missing persons case of Melanie Flynn, but Rowe says she does not believe these are Flynn's remains.
The time frame of Melanie was probably 1970, 77, somewhere in there. And in my experience and opinion, these remains do not match that time frame. Again, in my opinion, I believe that somewhere less than 5 years.
Now, Lexington police confirmed they have been asked to assist in this case, and Coroner Rowe says although she may know a gender in the next couple of days, she says it will likely take several months before an identity is determined. In the meantime, Coroner Rowe says she will work diligently to figure out who this person is, because she says there is a family out there who needs to know.
This job is not a job that you say, oh, I love my job. My job is something that has to be done, and being able to give somebody the closure that they've not been able to get for a long time, that means something to me.
In Bourbon County, Monique Blair, WKYT.
And the coroner says, based on her findings, the remains do not belong to a Native American. Well, police say a motorcyclist was rushed to the hospital last night after a crash. They say a car was turning left onto Zandale Shopping Center on Nicholasville Road when it collided with a motorcycle. The driver of the motorcycle was rushed to UK Hospital with serious torso injuries. Police do not expect to file any charges. Deputies in southern Kentucky say a sex offender is back in jail after a complaint about someone peeping through windows. They say that 41-year-old Samuel Nolan had been living at Emma Estates near London, but he never notified deputies of his change in address. Last night, deputies say Nolan was looking through windows of other apartments. Our Garrett Weimers talked with people who live at the complex.
Neighbors say it was bad enough hearing about a peeping Tom arrested at their apartment complex. Then the news got even more unsettling.
Well, you don't expect them to be right in your neighborhood, I don't guess, but I guess they're everywhere.
Investigators say they tracked down the man accused of looking in folks' windows, Samuel Nolan, and learned he's a registered sex offender. Kentucky State Police's sex offender registry says Nolan was convicted of child molestation in Indiana. Investigators say he lived at Emma Estates for 3 months, but didn't notify anyone that he moved. The registry still lists Nolan's address as Big Creek, Kentucky.
if people and the public's aware, which that's what the list is for, then they can kind of watch out for that guy and kind of not put themselves in situations where he might be there and might be involved. If they don't know he's living there, it greatly increases the risk of danger.
And not only that, investigators say the apartment manager told them that convicted felons are not even allowed to live at the apartment complex in the first place. Neighbors say they feel a little better now Nolan was arrested, but going forward, they say they'll be more vigilant because you never know who people really are.
It's really shocking and unnerving. You want, you know, to have good neighbors and everything, and but I'm just glad it's took care of.
In Laurel County, Garrett Weimer, WKYT.
And Nolan is charged with failure to comply with the sexual offender registry and criminal trespassing. He is being held in the Laurel County Jail. A former Kentucky court clerk accused of stealing thousands of dollars will avoid jail time. Former Lee County Circuit Clerk Emma Adams pleaded guilty in February to abuse of public trust. She's accused of stealing more than $330,000 from her office. Attorney General Andy Beshear announced yesterday Adams was ordered to serve 5 years on probation and 180 days of home incarceration. A judge also ordered her to pay a fine equal to what she stole, in addition to $200,000 in restitution. Adams' attorney says he plans on asking the judge to lower the fine. He says she has already paid $156,000 in restitution. The search is continuing for the killer or killers of 8 family members in southern Ohio. 8 members of the Roden family were shot in what police call execution style. It happened Friday morning in Pike County, Ohio, that's south of Columbus. Investigators call the murders pre-planned. Ohio's Attorney General Mike DeWine says he is keeping details about the investigation under wraps because he does not want the shooter to know what they are doing in the investigation. Family members are panicked at not knowing who did this.
All of us is torn up and you know what I mean, kind of freaked out because we don't know there's still killers on the loose or killers.
Investigators say they found marijuana operations at 3 of the crime scenes. They did not say if the deaths were linked to drugs. A man accused of killing his wife in southern Kentucky faced a judge for the first time yesterday. 29-year-old Joseph Jones pleaded not guilty to murder in a Wayne County courtroom. State police say Jones killed his wife, 28-year-old Rachel Jones. They say he put her body in a well on Tobar Road near Monticello. Court records filed say that Jones called 911 on Friday morning saying he had killed his wife 2 days before. He even told the dispatcher that he did it because his wife was going to leave him and he didn't want her to go, so he strangled her. According to an arrest citation, Jones dropped the couple's 9-year-old son off at his sister's house on April 22nd. It also said Jones went to Mississippi before coming back to Kentucky. He was arrested on Saturday. A teenager is recovering this morning after police in Frankfort say he was shot while he was sleeping on Monday morning. Police say 19-year-old Jordan Metz was in his bed in his apartment on Centennial Drive when a bullet came through the ceiling and hit his leg. Police believe someone in an upstairs apartment accidentally fired a gun and that bullet went through the floor. Family members say Metz suffered a broken pelvis but is expected to be okay.
It could have been worse. It could be looking at him. He could have been killed. And it's really a scary thought when you have to wake up and you realize that you have been shot.
Frankfort police spent several hours searching the apartment where they believe the bullet came from, but no one was there. Police are still trying to track down those responsible. A teenager is facing assault charges in Somerset after police say he attacked his girlfriend. Police arrested Jonathan Reeves yesterday afternoon. They say Reeves and his girlfriend got into a fight at a home on Jasper Street. The girlfriend was treated at the scene for injuries. Police later arrested Reeves, who had run off through a neighborhood. Police in Breathitt County are trying to track down a pair wanted for using stolen credit cards. Jackson police want to question this woman and a man about a stolen wallet from Kings Ridge Apartments. Police say these two were caught on camera at the Walmart in Jackson. Police say a credit card from that wallet was used at the Walmart. And WKYT this morning just getting started, bright and early here on your Tuesday. It's 4:40 here in a couple of seconds. A new study is showing that moms are most stressed when their children are in middle school. The reason why, coming up on WKYT this morning.
Defender Radar Network, nothing going on this morning. Afternoon, it's mainly dry. Still a few shots at a couple of rumbles then, but it's evening and night. Here comes strong, potentially severe cells. I'll have that coming up next.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with meteorologist Micah Harris.
It's an awesome start to the morning. Very quiet outside, and also it feels great. We're sitting there in the 60s for many locations. We're at 65 degrees right now in Frankfort, and that goes for Jackson and Breathitt County down in southeastern Kentucky, London, Corbin area, and Lexington holding on to the low 60s and remaining dry. That's the key for this morning. Once we hit the afternoon hours, we're going to be seeing those temperatures actually reach right around 80 degrees. We'll throw in some thunderstorms there in the forecast. I want to show you this, a big shot at severe weather outbreak back toward the central and southern plains. Not so much for us, nonetheless. That's where we're going to be watching, and you'll see that all over Twitter. You'll see it all over the news later on this evening and off into the night as these storms will just pound that area. But what it does for us, it throws a front right over us. And this front isn't very strong. The most potent part of this system is well back toward the west. So what we have over us is just a stationary front. What's going to happen, these storms will start to dive from the north to the south. They'll start off in northern Kentucky, southern Indiana, and southern Ohio, and slide southbound as we go through the evening and night. Not so much afternoon. Remember, afternoon's only a small chance. And a couple of rumbles of thunder. But during the evening and nighttime hours, that's when we're going to be seeing a few storms roll on through. And it's a marginal risk of severe weather. Obviously, the highest risk well toward the other end of the spectrum. So this is a low-end severe weather threat. I would lean more toward just your run-of-the-mill thunderstorms. A lot of heavy rain with this, and also some lightning as we head off into the evening and night. So this could be one of those nights that it keeps a few of us up overnight and into tomorrow morning. But hopefully that starts to fade as we go deep into the night. But look at this rainfall potential. Not just the storms for today, but we have them for tomorrow, and that goes for the first half of your Thursday. And adding up all the rainfall totals, look at that. Some of us right around 2 to 3 inches of rain. And that goes for Lexington Bluegrass region, where the system will set up and you'll get one storm after another the next 48 to 72 hours. So some good rain heading our direction, very heavy rain. And this might knock out that deficit that we are in. We are just below 3 inches there for a deficit for this month. So we're hoping we're getting that squared away. Actually, that was for the year, rather, from January 1st to now. So we're going to see a lot of rain slide through here. But remember, the storms come late in the day, evening and night. That's your best bet. And some of these will be strong. There's no doubt about that. I'm very confident in that. But severe is still going to be isolated at best. Yeah, don't see any widespread.
Make a good point. Some areas are much more bullseye than it appears we are, but we'll be watching. Yep. All right. Thank you, Mike. The time this morning is 4:46 now. And when children are stressed out, that means mom and dad usually are too. And when kids start middle school, they're also entering an age where social media can become their whole world. More on the stress that puts on parents and children in our Mom's Everyday Minute.
A new study by Arizona State University shows that the most stressful time for moms isn't when they have a newborn or even a high school student, but when their kids are in middle school.
I have definitely lost it with my mother multiple times.
That special time when your once darling child morphs into a hormonal pubescent teen who wants nothing to do with you. Do moms agree that's when they're most stressed?
I would.
Mom and licensed therapist Deanne Lippincott says on top of figuring out where they fit in, peer pressure gets to middle school students who may be introduced to alcohol and drugs. They're also at an age when social media becomes their whole world.
A lot of these kids are getting cell phones for the first time. So then all of a sudden as a parent, you're trying to keep track of what they're doing on their phones and you're trying to make sure that they're being safe, but it's incredibly hard because of cell phones and social media and computers. These kids never get a break.
Stressed kids can definitely stress out mom and dad. It's recommended that kids stay involved in extracurricular activities and that parents keep up on their kids, especially when it comes to technology and social media.
For these tips and more, go to WKYT.com and you can click on Mom's Everyday. And of course, there we have the latest news and we'll be watching weather, obviously, very closely these next several days. WKYT this morning on the air with all the latest on your Tuesday. 5 states holding primaries today. We'll have what's at stake for the presidential candidates when we come back on WKYT this morning. Hey, good morning. Welcome back in. WKYT this morning on the air on your Tuesday. The time is 4:50. It's 10 till 5. And 5 more presidential primaries are being held today. The front runners are counting on big wins to put them out of reach of their competitors for good. But there's new drama among the Republican candidates, and CBS's Weijia Jiang has more from Philadelphia.
Donald Trump's opponents have joined forces to try to stop him from winning the GOP nomination.
They ought to both drop out of the race, so we ought to unify the Republican Party.
In an unprecedented agreement, John Kasich will step down in next week's Indiana primary to clear the way for Ted Cruz. In return, Cruz will not actively campaign later in New Mexico and Oregon. Neither candidate can get enough delegates to become the Republican nominee. Their strategy is to siphon enough support away from Trump so he can't either.
Each of us believe it is in our best interest, and it's ultimately in the interest of the country.
Hillary Clinton is focused on a November matchup against Trump.
You don't just fly that big jet in and land it and go make a big speech and insult everybody you can think of.
A big Clinton win here in Pennsylvania and the other 4 northeastern states could make it nearly impossible for Bernie Sanders to win the nomination. But Sanders vows to stay in the race all the way to the convention. He wants his progressive proposals to influence the Democratic Party platform.
Real change is never given to people. People have got to fight for it.
New polls predict both Trump and Clinton will have clean sweeps in Tuesday's contests. Weijia Jiang, CBS News, Philadelphia.
And Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Delaware, Connecticut, and Maryland all vote today. A new National Park Service report shows that nearly 2 million people visited national parks in Kentucky last year. Overall, those visitors spent almost $114 million at the parks. That spending results in nearly 1,800 jobs and added $145 million to the state's economy. Cumberland Gap National Historical Park had a visitor spending of $48 million. It edged out Mammoth Cave by about $1 million. Most of the spending was for lodging, food, gas, admissions, and some souvenirs. Some workers at an eastern Kentucky gas station got a big surprise this weekend when a celebrity pulled in to fill up his car. Drew Carey, the host of The Price is Right, made the pit stop Sunday at the Beattyville Shell Station in Lee County. The clerk there, Diana Spencer, tells us she first noticed his car and then asked if she could take some photos of it with her daughter.
And I was like, "You look just like Drew Carey." He said, "That's because I am." And I was like, "No, you're not." He's like, "Yeah." And he pulled out his glasses and put them on. I was like, "Oh my God, you are."
On his Twitter, Drew Carey confirmed that he was driving through Kentucky. Spencer says Carey told her that he was taking the scenic route while driving cross country and somehow got lost. So that chance meeting there in Beattyville. Well, coming up next, we'll have a look at some of the stories our news team is working on for you this morning, and we'll also update their weather forecast, complete with that chance of, looks like, storms later on today. Keep it here on WKYT. We're rolling up on 4:57, and it's good to have you with us on WKYT as we're about to hit the 5 o'clock hour. Time to take a quick look at some of the stories we're working on for you this morning. Divers are supposed to resume their search for a man who disappeared during a storm at Laurel Lake back in 2012. WKYT's Mark Barber will be live this morning at our update desk with more on the search for Clarence Holmes. That's in our next half hour. And that may be challenging with the weather we're anticipating this afternoon and into tonight. Meteorologist Micah Harris now with that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We start off the morning. The morning looks great. We head through the afternoon, small chance at a couple of rumbles of thunder, and then we hit the nighttime hours. That's when we start to see evening and night. We start to see those storms make their way on in. Right now, we are in the 60s, a couple of 50s, but all in all, this is a really good start to the day. It actually feels fantastic outside. And we go through your day, 80 degrees. Like I said, a couple of rumbles there by 5 p.m., but it's evening and night we have to watch. We'll have that coming up with another 2 hours of WKYT News.